now time to dive into events that await us. To begin this journey on a soulful note, we have a devotional song by Shivani, one of our batchmates, ensuring that we start with positivity and grace.
Thank you, Shivani, for this soulful song. So now we will be privileged to hear some words of wisdom from our own head of the department, a guiding force whose insights will inspire us well. So please, Dr. Balaji, please welcome to the stage.
Thank you for the invitation. I welcome you all to this Alchemex. Can you hear me better? I welcome you all to on this occasion of this Alchemex Department Day. The organizers have put together a nice, a lot of work to come up with this nice setup, and we're very happy to kickstart this with a talk by Utkarsh. So one of the things is this event is very important for the department because this is an occasion I want the students to come together and develop a sense of belonging to the department. It's very important. The last year, now the second year MTechs have played an important role in organizing this, and this year the first year MTechs are now again, they have taken this responsibility and organized this, and I want to continue this tradition of having this department, and we have also added a sports day to it now. So I want this tradition to continue so that this will be an occasion for all of us to get together in some way and look at what is nice about chemical engineering, what it means to be a chemical engineer in some way. Okay, is something we can brainstorm on, and the sense of belonging and the camaraderie that comes with having an event together is very important. So hope that this will continue and we will see more of this, and a larger audience and more participation is what is also something I'm looking forward to. Thanks. Thank you.
Next, we welcome our esteemed guest, Dr. Utkarsh Bhutani, an alumnus who has journeyed from Iith through academia and research, now making an impact at Dr. Reddy's laboratories as a product selection and innovations ideation specialist. His experiences will surely provide us with valuable perspectives on career growth and innovation. I would like to invite Dr. Utkarsh Bhutani to present.
Good morning, everyone. So, thank you all and respected faculty members and students and for inviting me. And I was just coming through the road, and when I saw IT Hyderabad gate, there was automatically a smile on my face, and I could not believe the kind of change it has gone through in last 6 years. And from the main gate, the way I imagined what we were going through, and now the sort of greenery we have, and that the kind of buildings and departments have come up, I was just amazed to see that. And it's really, really good. I could barely see my shade labs from there. That I was able to find, okay, this was the place I used to work, and that was a place that we had established on our own, and then we had moved. So I was discussing with Sarvesh and even had a long chat with Dr. Balaji also, that how we have come along, and it's really great to be back here. And I'm actually giving, after my PhD, there were hardly any instances that I was able to give a talk and address to an audience, and today I feel a bit nervous also because after a long time I'm getting this opportunity to address this crowd. So as it's a department day, and I see there are varied students, group of students, those are must be bachelors, masters, PhD, and PhDs also at their different junctures, midway, and some must be going or searching their postdocs. So I have tried to keep this talk very generic because I have gone through all these phases. And also I have actually transitioned myself from a different stream to chemical engineering, and then I was a part of a startup also, and now I'm a part of a big industry. So I have actually seen all these phases, so I thought I will share my journey with all of you, because many of you would be thinking in the same way, or actually maybe at that juncture, whether you want to go to academia, whether you want to go to industry, or whether you want to be an entrepreneur. So I have seen all these things, and I would like to share my experiences. And at the same time, I will touch upon the technical expertise, the kind of research work that I did at different phases of starting from my PhD to postdoc and to the R&D lab, the startup I was working upon. And then now what I am currently doing, and I would like to give few of the case studies and the perspective of industry, specifically the pharma industry, what they are doing. So that is what I have tried to touch upon. So So yeah, so this has been my journey. So as I say that I'll be talking about a lot of career transitions. So my first transition becomes, I was doing my BTech in biotechnology in Vellore Institute of Technology, and from there actually I joined IIT Hyderabad in chemical engineering. So that was the first switch I made, and then I did my masters and PhD from here, and I graduated from 2019. And then I did my postdoctoral research at Institute of Stem Cell and Regenerative Medicine at NCBS. So that was again an altogether a great experience, I would say. That was a different research what I saw at that institute. That was completely a great experience. And then from there only I was introduced to this concept of entrepreneurship, because we have this again a great institute, CCAM there. That is that is an incubation center that works closely with those entrepreneurs, and we have a lot of startups there. So from there actually I got this opportunity to work with a startup called Pandorum Technologies, and they are very close to my expertise. They are working on these biomaterials and regenerative medicine. So that is something that I enjoyed working there, and then finally I moved into Dr. Reddy's. So Dr. Reddy's has been my sort of a goal or an ambition. When I was doing my PhD, I had discussed a lot of time with Dr. Saptarshi also, and there was a chance that I would join them at 2019, but there was a point that I had to choose, and finally now I'm back in Hyderabad and I'm working with Dr. Reddy's. So as I tell that I have transitioned a lot, and so my first transition was from biotech to chemical engineering. And if you would ask me that what was the reason, I don't have any specific reason, but at that point of time biotechnology was evolving. At that time people used to say biotechnology mein काफी scope hai, but then at the same time we have a lot of scope and we have a lot of research going in biotech now. But at that point of time, from my biotechnology degree I got placed in HP. So that wasn't making much sense to me, that what would I do. So then something in my mind, it was always clear, because I was sort of more inclined towards that I have to do a master's. At that point of time I have not had a vision of PhD, but at least master's was there, and I had cracked it, and I was looking for a stream change where I could actually explore myself, because in biotechnology the way we were taught, we were not exposed much into research, not into much of what is actually going on. It was most of a, truly if I say, it was more of a mug up thing. You need to just cram things and just pass your exams. So that was sort of thing that was at my time. Even I don't have that thought process, okay, if I could do anything in biotech, because it was a lot of fundamental and basic research. So then I thought, okay, this is an opportunity I'm getting. I was getting two options honestly, one at IIT Hyderabad and then at IIT Madras. That was a 3-year MTech in their medical device and instrumentation. But then already I was transitioning into chemical engineering. I did not want to put one more doing an anomaly, a 3-year MTech program. So I came to chemical engineering, and it was a very good decision, I would say. And so when I made my transition from biotech to chemical engineering, definitely there were different apprehensions. There was something like that, okay, there is a lot of mathematical and analytical rigor that would be involved, that we are not exposed to at biotech people. We are exposed to a lot of theoretical stuff, a theoretical understanding of what's going inside the body, which doesn't involve that much of mathematical, because when I joined chemical engineering, it was all advanced thermodynamics, advanced chemical engineering, advanced transport phenomena. So it was all advanced. and I think 3 or 4 people were there who were biotech people, but most of my batchmates were who had some basic knowledge of chemical engineering. So you see, this is, somebody can think it as a pressure also, but it gives you an opportunity also to learn and to prove yourself. So that was something I took it as a challenge, because I heard before joining IIT Hyderabad that there are cases that it could be very tough. But okay, no, I had chosen a path and I went with it, and I say that with a little bit of extra effort, a little bit of more proactiveness, it really helps. And I was able to do a decent job in my masters, and then that basically shows your adaptability and resilience at the same time. So that was the opportunities, and that gives you a lot of learning as well. And see, I could actually bridge a lot of things between biotech and chemical engineering, because I could understand the biological aspect as also, but I could also understand the chemical aspect also. Because when I joined chemical engineering department, I saw a lot of simulations being done on blood, that how the blood flows through your capillaries is nothing but a transport phenomena. So that I could correlate that, okay, what is going on in actually from a biotech perspective as well as from a chemical engineering point of view. So, and it also gives an interdisciplinary advantage, because see, we are evolving, and now the most of the research is interdisciplinary. you cannot work alone. You need to actually explore other departments, other research areas, and if you are going to crack something good, it cannot be a single domain. It's going to everything is going to merge at one particular place. So it gives me a lot of understanding, and it gave me a flexibility as well. So that is something. There was a challenge, but at the same time there were a lot of opportunities as well. That is how I thought of, because I never thought ki ab kya hoga or what would I do after chemical engineering, because people are not going to consider me as a biotech expert as well or as a chemical engineering expert as well. So that was a thought process, and somehow as I moved forward, I decided to actually do my PhD at IIT Hyderabad, and these are the few glimpses of my research work that I did. So I actually since I had a biotech background, and I was working with Dr. Saptarshi, and we started to actually explore a new area of drug delivery, biomaterials, and material design. So that is why where we actually started up, and we came up with an understanding of these biodegradable polymers. See, these polymers now are actually booming up, the sodium alginate, gelatin, these sort of polymers, and our basic understanding was that we have to play with the intermolecular forces to come up with cross-linker free designs, because it's an unmet need we identified that most of the biomaterials, if you need to stabilize them, you need to use certain sort of chemical cross-linkers, and ultimately if those degrade, they will come up with some toxic compounds that you don't want. If you can come up with a stable biomaterial, that too without cross-linkers, so that was the basic idea that we moved forward, and then we worked on hydrogel-based system. Hydrogel-based system was our basic research, and then we worked on couple of innovative research materials, that are soya nuggets, cardamom. So soya nuggets, it's a story again. Dr. Saptarshi, in one of the days in his lunch, he was having these soya nuggets, and because we had worked on hydrogels are nothing but 3D polymeric systems that actually have a huge capacity to swell. You put them in water, gels will swell because they're highly porous. And if you see the soya nuggets, they are also having a lot of porosity, and they also swell if you keep it in water. So the system was the idea was same, that can we encapsulate drugs and control them and see how it releases, how the drug can be encapsulated and how it gets released. So that was the idea he came up, and then we explored it, and we were actually able to explore it to a very good extent. We were able to encapsulate both hydrophobic and hydrophilic drugs, and then we could actually modulate the release as well. And then because it was his idea, so that something had to come from me also. So then I thought, because there were some challenges in soya nuggets that we could not actually, you need a protective coating to control the release. Can we come up with a natural coating that actually encapsulates your drug, your polymeric formulation, and controls the release? So that we came up with one idea of cardamom capsules, because if cardamom, that small cardamom, if you remove the seeds of those cardamom, you are only left with the husk, and that husk is a cellulosic protective coating that helps, that doesn't degrade fast, and that is also porous, but not to that extent. But we had formulated that, and we had tweaked the material in such a way that we can protect the material as well as we can control the release of drugs as well. And then finally, after exploring these innovative ideas, we came back to fundamental research, and we explored that how a hydrophobic drug can actually act as a placebo to actually protect this or to prevent these biomaterials like gelatin or alginate from degradation. So this was my PhD journey, and it actually focused on a lot of understanding of the material, the intermolecular forces, the polymer chains, and I got a decent idea to design materials that could help us in achieving a controlled release. So that was the basic research I did at my PhD. But then material design, what was the missing link? So now if you are working on materials or biomaterials, then there are some things, checkpoints that you need to cross. See, one is material design, but as you move forward, you need to prove its biocompatibility. You have to do a lot of cell stuff, and then as you move forward, then you move into preclinical and in vivo studies. So that was the two things that I could not explore at IIT Hyderabad. So that was the missing link that I wanted to explore further, and that is when I made my second switch towards postdoc. And then I was able to get JNCR DST Nanomission postdoctoral fellowship, and I joined the Institute of Stem Cell and Regenerative Medicine. But before I move forward, the key achievements of my PhD, I have not captured my publications or what I did my research, but the key achievements I would say is that we were able to build the first chemical engineering lab at IIT Hyderabad at the Shades lab.
Not chemical engineering, the first lab in IIT.
Yeah, first lab at IIT. Yeah. So that was something that we really, I mean, Dr. Chandra, Dr. Saptarshi, Dr. Anand and Dr. Deva. So we all, I mean, all other faculty members, we came together and we saw that lab from scratch. I mean, and also the one of the best experiences what we had is that we got all our instruments installed from day one. I mean, we knew the instruments in and out. So see, people can argue, okay, you had given a lot of time in doing this rather than actually spending more time on research, but these learnings actually count in your career, and this give you a lot of things that basically I have interacted with people that will give them anxiety if something is not at place, but I took it different. I always think that something in a different perspective, that okay, no, things can be done. I have done it in the past from zero, it can be done now as well. So that is something what I saw. And then these are the few pics with Dr. Chandra, Dr. Desai was there, this was the chair. And then again, the first national conference that happened at IIT Hyderabad was conference. So Dr. Chandra, Dr. Satyajit, Dr. Lopa, so they all actually, we all came together, and that was not in that room. This room didn't exist at that time. That was in the dining hall. That we arranged in the dining hall, and that professors from all the notable IITs actually had visited us, and that was a really successful program. And Dr. Chandra and all the professors gave me the opportunity to convene that conference. So it was again a very good opportunity at the same time to work with a team and to lead a team. So that experience was also really matter. That was again a very important milestone that I would say in my PhD. And then yeah, in one I have captured a pic that is a memorable pic. This soya nuggets research actually got an national attention, where I won the Gandhi and Young Technological Innovation Award at Rashtrapati Bhavan. So yeah, so this more than me, my family was really proud because I could take my parents and my grandparents to Rashtrapati Bhavan, and they were very happy. So that was again, that's why I've captured this pic. So these are some of the beautiful memories of this campus, and I'll always cherish them. So yeah, we'll move along. So yeah, so I came to INSTEM again. I would say that it was, and I was working with Dr. Praveen Kumar Vemula there. So I would say it was, I think, one of the best experiences of research I had for 2.5 years in Bangalore. And this, I mean, the kind of culture I experienced at INSTEM, NCBS and CCAM, these all three institutes have a very good ecosystem. It was a really, I mean, I was able to see the kind of collaboration they have, the kind of vision they have, the kind of time they want to invest in a problem without, I mean, their vision is nature, science or above. They will start from there and they will leave no stone unturned till you achieve that particular goal, and they will give you a lot of freedom. We can go and talk to anyone, we can go and interact with anyone, we can discuss our problem with anyone, any of the professors. So that sort of freedom I saw. So that is something I felt that it was a sort of a cultural change for me also, and it gave me a lot of opportunities again to explore. Because Dr. Praveen's lab is, okay, there are few PhDs that are working, but it was felt like an industry to me, because there are 8 to 10 postdocs working together on different problems. And you are not only focused on your problem, but you get a chance to collaborate with them and work there and to learn a lot of things that I will show in the coming slides. So I'll discuss first my basic problem. So here also, now since I was working, I did a lot of work independently in my PhD research also. I was able to define my own problems at points. We were able to come up with unmet needs. So that helped me to actually identify an unmet need. So it was not a straightforward case where I joined his lab. I had to write a proposal, I had to crack the scholarship, and then I had to join it. So before that, we actually identified a problem of anastomosis leaks. So anastomosis is nothing if suppose there is a problem in the intestine or any organ, and if there is a suppose say a cancer developing in the intestine and detected at an early stage, what they will do is they will remove that particular part of the intestine and join the two ends together. So that is anastomosis. But when we were going through, we figured out that there are still chances, that 22% chances that these surgeries fail and it may lead to sepsis. And the conventional sutures are the only thing that are being practiced today. Even we have advanced so much in the surgical front, but that is the one thing that practiced. And there were many glues that are coming up, but they are having their own drawbacks. Some are not that much, that will withhold for a very long period of time, or they will lead to some sort of toxicity. So when I was interacted with Dr. Praveen before joining him, so when I proposed this idea, then he brought his outlook also. And and he proposed that they were developing a molecule, urolithins, they had identified, they had published also, that was helping in sealing those tight junctions. Basically, they were targeting intestinal bowel disease, the leaky gut syndrome. So they found out that these urolithins, they are present in the pomegranate. So he is a hardcore chemist, and there is a lot of chemistry that goes on there. So they had actually developed the analog of this urolithin, and that was found that was helping in closing this leaky gut. It was promoting the growth of these tight junction proteins. Then we thought of, can it enable a healing process also? Can it fasten the healing? What if we start it as a prophylactic therapy? Before the surgery only we'll start giving it to the patients and see if it can uplift their tight junction protein, if it can help that in faster healing. So that was the idea, that we'll go for only conventional sutures, but we'll supplement that with oral therapy. And there was another idea of nanofiber based sutures with encapsulated drug. But see, the thing is, timeline was stringent here. I did not want to cross 2 years of timeline because that was the funding time, and also for my career, because I was always an industry oriented person. So I knew that after 2 years I need to make a switch. So then we did a pivot. We said, okay, let's target only one problem that I'll be able to complete. And by the time COVID had also hit, so there were many challenges there. So we started only with the oral therapy of urolithins. And from a person who had never seen animals, was actually performing these surgeries on animals. So I know some of these pics may be disturbing to few of the people here, but then actually I wanted to show you, because the kind of exposure I got there with these animals. I was working with mice, rats, and I would say that I was so well trained in an year that I was helping, other colleagues of my lab were asking me to come and help them in the animal experiments. So that's the kind of exposure I got at NCBS, and the beauty of them is that they teach you very well with a lot of patience. I was discussing with Professor Balaji also, they will first invite you for the first class just to hold them. And if they see that you are able to hold them without any fear, without any sweat, then they will move forward. Otherwise, come back. We'll do this again. And that was something, that's the kind of training I got. And then you reach the advanced stage where they will start teaching you operating, do these surgical procedures or animal, do a lot of blood work, taking out blood from the animals, how do you handle them, and all those things I learned there. So the work is yet to be published, but yeah, again, it was a great exposure and a problem. The work is still going on, and that's the problem. The problem what we defined there, it goes on for a long time before it gets matured. So that's why everyone has to go in with a mindset there that it will take time. So there we have to actually make a balance. Publish also, at the same time target, have a vision also. So that's what I did was. So this is again an image where we were actually making this complete sutures. So the idea was we'll make complete sutures and start giving them oral therapy, and then we were extracting this colon, doing the histopathology studies, doing burst pressure measurements. So there was a lot of stuff that was done after these surgeries. So but then the thing was how to, at the back of your mind is that you need to justify yourself, okay, what did you do in your 2 years? So that's what, when I told you that we were working on multiple problems in the same lab, I was able to collaborate with this problem where we were actually making this electrospin nanofibers, and we had identified an unmet need. This blood banks, they store blood. The shelf life of our blood is 42 days. But the thing is, if you are going for a very critical surgeries like an organ transplant, the doctors won't use blood that is 7 or 14 years old, because there are certain damage associated molecular patterns, certain proteins that start to develop inside the blood, and that is actually after 42 days that makes them unusable. But you cannot use after 7 to 14 days also at this critical point. So we had developed these nanofibers patches made of acridine and taurine. These are charged particles, and these dams are also charged. So we used to treat the mice blood with these nanofibers patches that used to scavenge these dams, and we used to store our blood again, and finally we used to monitor that what is the health of the blood at the end of the timeline. So what we observed that we could actually increase the shelf life in mice blood up to 3 days, that is equivalent to 9 days in humans. So that is one of the things that we were able to do. But then again, nanofibers have their own challenges, scale up, reproducibility. But this was an unmet need that was there, that people were working on. I collaborated. I again did a lot of animal experiments in that. I did
mass spec, that was again an add-on. That was because NCBs again has a very good mass spec facility, and I got trained and I was able to do a lot of blood analysis using LCMS. And then we were able to file a patent as well as publish this work. And then apart from that, I was also working on another project that was associated with microneedles. So microneedles is again a very good, I would say a very innovative area of research that is coming up, and chemical engineers are again one of the pioneers in this, because that's a drug delivery system, that's a transdermal drug delivery system that can actually replace the oral therapies, many of the oral therapies, and it will actually remove the kind of pain, the painful injections a person has to go through, specifically the diabetic patients. So that pain-free injection technology is nothing but the microneedles. So I spent a lot of time working on this also. But yeah, I was able to explore different research areas as well apart from mine. So independent researcher, I won't say that I became there. I actually got a taste of it at IIT Hyderabad as well. But yeah, it definitely enhanced that. And something like collaboration and research exposure, and that was something I would say I was really blessed to be at NCBS. That was the one thing only I liked about Bangalore, and that was the one thing that motivated me to go daily at that particular institute. Even at COVID, after the first wave, we got letters and I was going daily because I was so much in love with that institute. But then, as I told that I have to make a switch into the career, and I was talking about CCAM. So that has a lot of incubation center, and you actually see those problems from lab being actually going and being converted into industrial scale, and they are actually solving something. And there actually I came with Pandoran Technologies. But yeah, so now at InSTEM I had covered the two major domains, material design and in vivo testing. Usually people go step by step, but I jumped that particular phase and I directly went into in vivo studies. So yeah, I was telling about Pandorum. So Pandorum again very close to my research area. Actually, it's hard to find a job that actually exactly matches your research expertise and you are going to contribute there with, you know, everything. So because I had worked with biomaterials, now I have explored biomaterials and its application in vivo also. So they actually are they are working on a very unique problem, but a very important problem, that is cornea. So see, cornea is a transparent layer of the eye through which you are able to see, through which the light enters. But most of the blindness today is because of damaged cornea. And the only way to actually cure it, you need to replace that particular cornea, you need to find a donor. And for over 70 corneas required, only one is available because the kind of cornea you are getting from the donor, the quality is not good, and then there are rejection problems. So that is a very important problem that they are addressing, and they are trying to actually come up with this hydrogel based system again to come up with regenerative cornea. So see, there's another, these hydrogels, there are many ways to make it, and the hydrogels they were working upon was photo-cross-link hydrogels. So they are using these kind of photo initiators in the hydrogel, and they are acrylite based polymers where you can actually shine the light for a particular point of time, and at that point of surgery only you can form these gels. Your surgeon is using those white lights during the surgery. You pour that particular liquid onto the eye with that particular light for a particular time, it will form that gel, and then gel has the capability of regenerating your cornea. We had used certain kind of cellular structures in that, certain kind of ingredients that actually enabled the growth of cornea. So we had tested that in preclinical, it was showing good results, and this was one thing that I was primarily involved. But then again I got an exposure to work with 3D bioprinting as well. I think Dr. Lopa's lab is working on 3D bioprinting, and at that particular time it was a new printer that had come up, but we did not get a chance to actually work on it. But then I saw there, and I could actually explore and do a lot of research on this bioprinting, where we were working on this bioprinted lenticules. Again, as I mentioned, that one is regenerative cornea. You can make this sort of contact lenses also that can also help you address the same challenge. But then again, there is a lot of optimization, lot of polymer work involved. So we had explored this HAMA and GELMA. Again, methacrylate polymers are the basis of your photo cross linking. And then we had used different sort of cross linkers, optimized them. And since it is still far away from being commercialized, we are still at the early stages. But yeah, this sort of exploration did not go waste, and we were able to again file patents and publish out of it. So at each juncture, I would say that there was a continuous learning as well as something was getting add on also to your profile, which is again very much important to actually justify, because at one point of time we can justify ourselves, okay, we had done this, but if you are able to show also what you have done, that also becomes very critical. So at all point of time there was some sort of a learning also, and some sort of a tangible thing that I could show to the world that okay, I have done something. So but then I made my next switch, and here I could actually cover the cellular studies also. I was intensively now doing cell studies there from scratch. I was able to understand okay, how cells are grown, how they are stored, how you need to expand the colony, and how you need to test your biomaterials with the cells. So that sort of exposure I got at Pandorum Technologies. So now I could actually imagine, or I could actually complete the entire length and breadth of biomaterials through this journey. So now, but then there are again, see, startups, I loved my work there, but then there are certain sort of challenges also that comes with a startup. See, startup, there are instances if you are not doing well, there could be funding challenges, or things are not going right, your growth may not be at par with the industry standards, and there were many challenges that were coming up. They are still doing well, but that at that particular point I thought that no, now I need to make a switch, or I need to look for a bigger industry so that there are more opportunities and let's explore. So that is where I got an opportunity to work at Dr. Reddy's lab. So now I was making my transition where I am now, basically from a startup to a big industry with a lot of expectations, and coming back to Hyderabad because I really like this city and I was really happy to be back at Hyderabad. So yeah, so I'll discuss few of the case studies, because since we are all chemical engineers and we are looking for different sort of opportunities, so I will try to discuss certain kind of things that have recently happened and where we are moving in industry. So few case studies I have picked up. So starting with, see, collaboration becomes very important. I understand we talk a lot about industry collaboration, but then where we are, what are the challenges and what we are looking at. See, I have made fundamental research as red, but the problem where it comes is fundamental research is actually the basis of everything. But industry looks for a ready thing. Where are we in terms of readiness? How far we are from the market? If we have not done preclinical studies for say, then it is very highly unlikely that a pharma industry would be interested, because they see something that how less they can spend or how they can maximize the value. So that is one of the things, that fundamental research is the basic premise of research, but actually from an industry point of view, they see the completeness of your research from where we are, whatever they do. So that is something, that's why I highlighted. And we are looking for cutting edge and progressive refinement, because ultimately the goal of generic industry where I am working is the life cycle management. They want to see if the product is in the market, what sort of technologies you can bring in to actually sustain that product in the market, what sort of differentiations you can bring in that product. So I will discuss a case study when I move forward, but then that is what I am working with. So I was working in hardcore laboratory until I was in a startup. Now I have a desk, I have a laptop, and now I work on laptop, and now I evaluate a lot of technologies that come. So my work is actually scouting for a lot of third-party technologies. I look for technologies that can be useful for Dr. Reddy's, that can help in differentiating our project. And I'm a sort of an expert, because I have worked with so many technologies in my PhD postdoc and in a startup. So that's giving me an understanding, okay, how actually we can leverage this particular technology. So yeah, so ultimately we have to see, once we are collaborating with an institute, it has to be a mutually sort of a favorable for both. And if there are certain challenges coming, then there has to be an openness from both academia and industry to actually tweak that particular, because we should not get stuck on an agreement. What I have seen, we get stuck on an agreement, we get stuck on a timeline, but research doesn't go that way. So that is what I believe need to say. I'll discuss, see generic industry, definitely they are working on some generic drugs. The idea is to make medicines available at a very cheap rate, and India is a market where you need to make medicines affordable. So that is the idea. But I think Sun Pharma has done really well here. Lindra Therapeutics, I don't know, I'll just introduce you if some of you are not aware. So Lindra was a sort of, this technology evolved from a lab in MIT from Robert Langer. where they worked on this gastro-retentive drug delivery system. So there are drugs in the market that you have to take daily. They wanted to change the game and they wanted to make them once weekly. So they designed a sort of a capsule, a stellate shaped structure. You can see there is a core and then there are 5 arms. These 5 arms are nothing but polymers of polycaprolactone and other polymers that have a good biodegradation time. They have optimized in such a way, this goes inside the stomach and it opens up in the structure, and the dimensions are such that it will not cross your stomach. It will not cross your pyrolus. It will stay in the stomach and release the drug for 7 days. So now this is a game-changing technology that from once a day you are coming to once a week. So Sun Pharma has seen the potential and now they have actually invested 30 million in Lintra Therapeutics, close to 250 crores, and they have taken exclusive license for 3 Lintra pipeline drugs that are for Risperidone, dapagliflozin and abiprazole. So these are covering schizophrenia, diabetes and heart failure. And they have also taken market exclusivity in 6 countries. So it's there is a cultural change now. It's not that they are looking for only very niche technologies that are very basic or can be done, but they are looking for these cutting edge technologies. But again, they have done that, but again, how Indian market is going to shape, because what would be the cost of this particular pill in India? That would be challenges, because everyone cannot afford it. So we have to, cost really matters in India. That's why the generic industries are after optimizing the cost. That's why we don't see a lot of technologies that come up, but then this is something that is really notable, that Sun has taken a chance here with Lintra Therapeutics, and this was in the news also last year, that had made the headlines. Yeah. So I would also like to highlight some of the innovations and collaborations that are going on. This is a case study again from AstraZeneca. So all of these innovator companies, they actually spend a lot and explore a lot of academia collaborations. Like AstraZeneca has their program where they will invite proposals to actually see how they can leverage the technologies from the academia. And these innovator companies have a huge pipeline of molecules and they cannot do it on their own. So they gave those specific problems to academia to explore, and if they say they are coming up at a particular stage, they have shown some promises, especially in small molecule research, CNS repair or wound healing, they actually pick that up and then they take it forward. But that ecosystem is very strong. They have actually spent up to 75 million from 2014. So they are doing that. So companies like AstraZeneca, companies like Novo Nordisk, these are actually companies that are actually investing a lot of money in research. So many of you, I think if you are transitioning your careers and you are looking for postdocs also, and you aim to be in industry, try to explore these innovator companies because they have a lot of postdoctoral fellowships also. And if you go into them, you will definitely be absorbed into their ecosystem and you will get to explore a lot. You will be able to explore a lot of ground level research, that how a particular NC is done, that new chemical entity. So new chemical entity takes a lot of time from basic research to coming into the market, and these innovator companies work on these NCE molecules. Then we are into the era of AI/ML, and now Pfizer has actually collaborated with Amazon collaboration, and they are now actually data is power. So we as scientists, whatever I do, a technology comes to me, I evaluate it from where it started. I look into their patents, all possible data that is available. But then have you imagined how much time it takes to actually dig up this data? So there's a lot of time that goes, and this you have to take data from lot of resources, and it is not easily available also. And also this is one aspect, and then a company has to explore or optimize a lot of parameters, and they have to do a lot of experimentation. So now see, this actually takes a lot of time. It will take 3 to 6 months to hire an expert, then to train him, and then to do those experiments in the lab. 1 year is gone. But actually this rapid prototyping that Amazon offers, with Pfizer has collaborated, they were able to save a lot of time in data mining. They were also able to save a lot of time in prototyping, and they have claimed that they have saved 16,000 hours on search time annually, and they were able to reduce their cost by 55%. So yeah, so that means, see, AI/ML again, nothing to do with only pharma. It is evolving and it is going in all the industries. So that's what it's basically, and chemical engineers, we are into that particular field. We are not that it's only hardcore chemical engineering. We are into AI ML also now, and this is something that again opens up a lot of doors for you chemical engineers to explore this path as well. And this is something I wanted to highlight, this particular collaboration between Pfizer and Amazon. And then I wanted to touch upon a live example in our market, metformin. So metformin is a very high dose that we need to give. It's around 1000 mg, and the tablet size was also very large. So we identified that problem. Okay, this is a problem. There's a compliance issue. Patients are suffering. We need to reduce the tablet size. So that was one of the unmet need that was identified, and difficulty in swallowing. Basically, for the dysphagic patients, it was a challenge. And then how market involved. So it started from an immediate release metformin in 1995, and it came up to 2000. It was a sustained release formulation, but again sustained release for very high tablet size, and it was challenging, and it was not fit for all patients. So what did companies like Dr. Reddy's, and there are many other companies, they came up with an idea of firstly reducing this tablet size, because see, these small addressing these small unmet needs also has a very big impact, because you are addressing a compliance issue, and it is very favorable for the patients. So they reduced the tablet size from 10.6 mm to 19.8 and this looks less on the paper, but if you see it physically, it is really good. And they also developed biophysic tablets where they included this gliptins also. They used a biophysic polymer technology, 2 hydrophilic polymers, where they used this gliptins as an immediate release, that means immediately controlling sugar, and metformin as a sustained release. So this is one of the case studies where we identified a sort of an unmet need that was there, and so these are that's what safety, efficacy, and compliance. These are the 3 pillars of unmet needs. Either you address if there is a safety concerns, if there is a side effect profile, if you can address that, safety. Efficacy, if you can increase the bioavailability of the drug, if you can make 2 pill to 1, that is efficacy. And compliance, if there is a patient issue, if they are not able to take that particular medicine properly, if there is an organoleptic issue, as soon as they take the tablet, there is not a good taste in the mouth. So these are the sort of unmet needs that you need to address. Safety, efficacy, compliance, these are the 3 pillars on which you actually build your case. So that is what I have experienced in Dr. Reddy's, that they focus on a lot of these 3 particular pillars. So yeah, so basically this is my journey, and I would actually see most of the things you know already, but then again, as I was transforming my career from bachelor's to master's, biotech to chemical engineering, you need to embrace those changes, and there will be a lot of uncertainties. I was also having a lot of uncertainty because IIT Hyderabad campus was developing at that particular time, and I could have easily thought of actually going to a much established IIT, but then the kind of comfort I got and the kind of, you can say, basic understanding and the kind of interactions I could have with the faculty members, that was something was more important for me, and that actually motivated me to work here and to explore my research here. Then continuous learning is crucial. See, that's what I cannot say that I am coming to chemical engineer, I don't know chemical engineering, because I need to be at par, and I need to, that's what I said, a bit of extra time and a bit of proactiveness really helps. And definitely, ultimately, what you are curious about, you have to follow that. Network and mentorship is really important. Try to build a network because it really helps, especially in industry. See, for me, getting into this Pandorum and Dr. Reddy's would not have possible without a network, because I was able to interact with people at CCAM, and I was able to interact with people of Dr. Reddy's through LinkedIn. I did not know anybody personally at Dr. Reddy's, but making contacts at LinkedIn really helped me. And see, I was sure that one clarity I had, that after 6 months I need to make a switch. So that particular 6 months I used to build a network, so that when I'm ready, if an opportunity comes up, it happens. So that is what happened through LinkedIn also. I was continuously chasing someone, showing my proactiveness, I'm really interested. And finally he actually he placed my CV at the right place where the position was open, and I got through. That is how it happened. So networking is very important, whether you are in academia or whether you are in industry, but it's very important. And ultimately your path is unique. It's my story, how I have evolved, and I'm still growing. From currently what I am doing is, I see myself going into business, or I see myself going into portfolio, because I'm evaluating a lot of third parties. So ultimately, if something cracks or something goes well for Dr. Reddy's, I'm bringing business. So that is where I see myself going into business development. So everybody's path is unique. So you need to see what motivates you and where you actually can fit in. So that's all from me. And ultimately, just I would like to say that you try to create your balance. Don't find your balance. See, finding balance, it will be again, you don't know when you will find. But if you start creating your balance, it is really going to help you in the long run. Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Utkarsh. So it was genuinely an inspiring journey of Dr. Utkarsh, and many of us would be there who are willing to get into the same domain as of Dr. Utkarsh. So, and also the journey that he transformed from, he transitioned from biotechnology to chemical engineering. There are a lot of people available here who have the similar kind of journey. So I think many people would have many questions or queries regarding the topic he talked upon. So now I would like to request, if any one of you have any questions or queries, please put upon. Thank you.
And we have a lot of time, we can interact after this also, but if you have any specific queries, I am happy to answer.
Students are not prepared, so I just want to kickstart a question. Utkarsh, I think you have really shown passion towards what you carried from Iith-Chemical to translate into industrial, implementation. I think it's really inspiring to see your journey, and on behalf of Department of Chemical Engineering, I really appreciate the way you have taken the challenges. The post IIT has about journey. But I think my question, of all the experiences, when you step in startup, right, when you have taken a very strict time-bound projects, how do you see yourself that, in a PhD time, basically we have a very, relaxed time. Of course, faculty always pressurizes you to do something, but there is some kind of attitude that students never come out of the comfort zone. But then you saw yourself that the stringent startup timelines that are being given for project are very tiny, probably about 3 months.
Yeah.
Okay. Then how did you cope up? What was helping you to actually go to that translational and speed up activity? Can you elaborate? I mean, it's a question for the point of students, what they need to really prepare for when they are out of the academics.
Yeah, so I think it's a very good question, because in academics you get a lot of freedom to explore and to actually see if something is not working. But I would say I was in a way blessed to have Dr. Saptashi, because he came from industry. So he also had that mindset that, okay, how timelines are important and how publishing at particular point is very much important. So that rough idea I got, that okay, timelines are very much important, you cannot miss those. But at the same time, in industries, what I understood was, see, that is something, you are chasing a timeline, it gives you a trigger also. So I get that trigger also, that okay, no, I need to complete this, or I need to be prepared because there is a big meeting coming up and we need to show. And if we are not able to achieve that particular result or particular milestone, why we fail? So in industry, the concept is fail fast, learn fast. So you have to fail fast. There is no other option. So that's what was a problem in my PhD, in which we were stuck at a particular point of time and we were daily trying 20 experiments, but we were trying 20 or 30 things in a day. So we were failing very fast. So that was something that in the industry really works, and timelines and that particular stringent timelines actually gives a sort of a motivation also, that particular thing can be done in that particular time frame. So that is really very critical there, and because I was such a kind of person in my academia also, I was able to follow that particular project timelines, and I was able to finish most of my projects on time, apart from a couple of them. So that gave me a sort of a understanding that how an industry is going to work, and at the same time, as I said, that you have to fail fast. So you need not stop. You need to find ways actually to explore that particular problems, and you need to target that problem from n number of ways. And industry always they take a phase gate approach. So always if they actually are defining a particular timeline, there are checkpoints. If you particularly cross this milestone, there will be a threshold for that checkpoint. If you are between this particular percentage, we move forward and we spend money. If we don't see that, the project is killed at that particular point of time. So that is how it works out there. So that's what I would just the mantra is: fail fast and learn fast and just run. That is how it is. And it gives me a lot of time to chase those timelines.
Thank you. I think that's a well pursued, approach where most of the industries are actually being successful, because unless you have failure stones, you cannot move on to success stones. So I think that's very, very much true in industry. But I think my message to the students, what I want to convey from what Utkarsh has experience is, this is what we say, that when you do a research, either master's or a PhD, don't just restrict yourself to the ideas or thoughts and given by supervisor, because we might give you only a few. But I think if you restrict to them, then you struggle yourself, because you are not really seeing the new innovation that you want to come around it. So I think what any student, if you are doing a PhD, you should really come up with the 20 plus ideas to come around and see which of them are going to be successful. I think the ideas generation should primarily come from students, but I think that's a journey. That's the failing. I mean, some cases it is C, but otherwise we expect this to have inbreeded with our students all the time. I think the way Utkarsh has seen post PhD some of these activities, probably if you try to do it during the PhD, you become a successful entrepreneur, successful even innovator. So I think that's the message I just want to convey. Thanks, Utkarsh.
I have no question, rather than I want to talk to all of you, and just to tell that these are the products that IIT Hyderabad has built, and all my colleagues have built based on their training, and they came at the time when we have nothing almost. Okay, so just think about a campus. Think about a campus. That campus has only rodents, couple of bushes, and nothing. Absolutely nothing. Not even a restroom. Not even a restroom. And he is the first 3 students who started working here without any restroom. And entire campus was in ODF. Manohar, Utkarsh and Deepak. These are the 3 people. One from Chandra's lab and they're from our lab. They started working, nothing was ready. And they started building the lab. And that's why Professor Desai's thing was there, our founder director. He was so moved that that we made they only made the shed. The tender documents everything we pushed to CMD. We pushed the even toilet to be built. So they have not done only research. They have done many things more than the research. And what they told all of the students, not only Utkarsh, that all of the initial students, all of our having fond memories. They have new equipments. They are setting up the equipments, making the equipment run, doing the maintenance, everything they have done. They have done the first ever conference in the campus. Nobody even dared to think about conference that time. So that time they have done all this. And on top, they were doing a lot of research, and what Professor Narasimha rightly pointed out, it is not the only things. Like an example, he told it. The soa nuggets, I told him, I called him one day, soa nuggets is my idea, not yours. What about it? Then he came up with an idea of cardamom cells, and let me tell you, it is far better than soa nuggets idea. It was far better. And as a guide, I felt I have done my job after losing to my students. So that's the kind of motivation. That's the kind of motivation these students are having. Not only Utkarsh, the initial batch of students, they're all self-made. Wherever I go into NIT Warangal, I saw Manohar sitting there. He's in NIT Warangal, he's bringing a lot of money, a lot of projects, everything. And I told their director, These people are self-made. They are self-propelled. They can do anything and everything because they have built an institute. It's not only we faculty have built. These are the students, faculty and students together. We have built this institute, and they have taken a challenge much beyond the technical challenge. But at the same time, they're superb in technical terms. Okay. So I just give a message to all of you on behalf of my colleagues that this is the journey. The journey is outside the comfort zone. Any progress will happen only outside your comfort zone. If you feel your comfort zone progress will happen, forget about it. Your progress has to happen outside your comfort zone. So go out of the comfort zone, challenge yourself, make the things happen. Don't come. This is a person, I've never heard any no from him. Any no. I have never heard that I told Utkarsh something, sometimes pressurizing beyond what should be done, and never said no to it. And about something, I'm telling, sorry Utkarsh, I'm telling revealing some personal things. He was having a steady relation with somebody. And I never came to know. My work never hampered, not a single thing. Only when I came to know when he was about to marry. So that is the kind of dedication. Because I felt my student 24/7 in the lab. I'm sure he's only doing my work. But no. He has some other world also. So he balanced me perfectly. He balanced his wife perfectly. So it's absolutely nice and see that how a person can come up with all the pressures. And think about in the conference, he was the convener. He was heading the tender conference. All the students were basically with several put. He is the topic. So everything he is doing without any complaint, without any no, without any delay, and without any excuse why he can't do. He has only come to my room saying, I have a problem, but this is a solution. Problems will be there. Without the problems, without failure, things will not happen. But problems, and this is solution, and sir, give me the time, I will do this. I will do this. But this is the conviction, sheer conviction, which made it here. And I can say that IIT Hyderabad and this initial group of students and all faculty, these are the legacy you people should please carry on. That's the only thing we can do. Please go out of your comfort zone, challenge yourself, do something great, make yourself proud, make us proud for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I really like your punchline, creative balance. Don't try to find your balance. Fantastic. Okay. So the thing is, Shaptrishi has already covered most of what I wanted to say. So I'll just add on to it. You are basically the legacy for IIT Hyderabad. When you go out, what you do basically brings a name to the institute. So you are, in some sense, you are the builders of the institute. The building of the institute doesn't happen inside the institute. Actually happens outside the institute. Okay, so that's what you need to understand. So when you go out of IIT Hyderabad, and where you perform basically is what it means. And we can train all that is there, but you'll have to use this training in the society in some way, and that gives us the signature. And Utkharsh is an excellent example of what IIT Hyderabad can do. The sense that he's gone out of his comfort zone, he's tried different things, he has been constantly looking forward to challenges, and he's met those challenges head on, and that's what has happened. And I have a question for Utkharsh here. One thing that will be useful is this creative balance as some connotation to it. You have a passion you are moving towards, and then you see there are restrictions also. There are practical constraints that you have when you're moving towards your passion. How do you think how you manage your passion with your constraints in the system?
Yeah, so that was one of the things. See, definitely I was very much passionate when I was working in Bangalore. So I explained the kind of challenges that I was getting. But always there was a vision that okay, when if I'm following my passion here, it's not that I cannot follow my passion at Dr. Reddy's also, or at a big industry. So definitely the thought process was that, see, I'm innovating here, but it's not that I'll be not innovating there. definitely the problem statement will change, but the kind of inputs or the kind of things I can bring into the system, that won't change. So definitely working at a startup or working at a lab level, seeing the problems, it was definitely a different experience altogether. But now I'm at the other side of the problems. I'm seeing that how we can make these particular technologies make technically viable and viable for the industries. So again, that is also something that's not something I'm much away from my passion. I'm still actually, I wanted to understand these new technologies, I wanted to work on them. I'm not able to work on them, but I'm getting an exposure of everything through Dr. Reddy's. So that is something where I've tried to find a balance. At the same time, I try to interact with a lot of upcoming people or upcoming startups through LinkedIn or through my interactions when I meet new people at these research institutes. So that's what it gives me updated also at the same time, and also I can share my knowledge, and I can actually leverage those particular technologies for my industry as well, that what can be done. So balance is, for me, is that actually not only doing that particular technology, building that technology, but understanding that technology, what others are doing, and how actually you can benefit them by bringing that technology and making a full potential, using the full potential of that technology through a big industry. So that is my thought process of taking or balancing that particular, my particular, what you say, what my passions. So that is how I try to balance it. Yeah.
Is there any questions left from your end? You can throw up the questions to us. Yeah, please.
Wonderful talk, Utkarsh. Really proud of you.
Thank you so much.
So I think your journey is just so interesting. I just have one question. It's a very boring question. I know you must have heard it so many times, but still I think it's very important. So how do you is there anything that bothers you that how we can make a bit better relationship with industry and academia, because you are here and then now you are working, and I know that the connection is not all the time so great. We know also certain causes, but does it bother you, or do you think really we should do something to make that bridge a bit better between academia and industry?
It definitely bothers me, because when I see, the thing is, industries also have to step out of their comfort zones, and they have to take that risk. Like I was mentioning, the Sun Pharma took a risk now of 250 CRs, and they have spent their money after seeing that Lintra is crossing phase 3. They were able to invest, and they were able to see, they had that vision. So that's what industries have to have, that vision. So as I mentioned, these innovator companies are definitely having a very good mindset, and they are having a good pipeline, and they are collaborating with the academic partners, and they are getting their work done. Yeah, AstraZeneca, Pfizer, all of them are there. Novo Nordisk. Novo Nordisk has a very good collaboration with Harvard Medical School. And you can see Novo Nordisk has just changed the market with this GLP-1s now. So that's what they are all coming through their explorations in the lab. The collaboration definitely in the Western world, these innovator companies, they have this huge chunk, and they are ready to take that risk. I think in India, that mindset has to change. In generic companies, definitely it's changing. I see in Dr. Reddy's also now they are ready to explore these new opportunities, but still it's a slow movement, because ultimately what matters here is the business case. It's basically, we come up with a technology, firstly it gets evaluated by business, then the technical experts. This technology we are going to take on year on year, at year 5, what will be our profits? Kitna dhanda ho raha hai? That is the first question that is being asked. So that is one of the things that mindset has to, and I see it changing, but it will take some time. So that is how the collaborations can happen. And as I mentioned, and we stick to the agreements, we stick to the timelines. So there has to be some sort of understanding. Okay, we at some point of time, if required, we'll be able to tweak these agreements, and we'll see if something is not happening on time, or if something is taking time. See, something great needs time. It will not happen. Like in Pandora, they are working from 7-8 years. They started from artificial skin, then they took a pivot to cornea, and now it's quite some time, but they are still struggling, because these biomaterials, there are no specific guidelines. FDA is still framing those guidelines that how can we introduce this biomaterials, because it's sort of an NCE, but you cannot do a sort of all sort of tests that you do for a pharma molecule. So these things are evolving. When you say this collaboration, definitely things are changing, but it will take some time to bridge the gap because industry is always looking for a ready technology, at least in India, and they are not ready to, I would say, explore something new that is completely out of the box. They want to see how, if this is particular molecule, how that particular molecule can fit in that particular technology with the bare minimum cost, and where the cost becomes very critical here. So we have to see how we can find a balance between cost and efficacy. So that is how I believe that collaborations can sustain for a longer period of time and help in collaborations also when it comes to pharma, biomedical engineering with the academy. That is my understanding.
My last question. You have shown the different level. You have seen the different level of journey after PhD. It's about 6 years, but also you have spent similar amount of the time during PhD. When you look back those, the PhD times in Hyderabad in chemical department, you see that you feel that something you could have done better, or you have a message that you can actually inform the research scholar that what they need to be proactive, what they need to be, because see, once you miss the boat, it's of course different level of exploration that you have to go, but the problem is you will have no mentors, particularly. That's one generally we have also observed during the postdoc. And second is, during those time frames you also feel that probably I could have done this extra mileage to touch upon and do. So you have those kind of opinions for the work that you have spent at Hyderabad, so that there is a kind of certain improvement we can always look forward to see for the next generations to come.
Yeah. So I'll start with the PhD folks because once they are going to complete their PhD, they will start looking for postdocs and they will start applying. So most of it happens, I have seen, after the thesis has been submitted, or now they feel that okay, now everything is done, they will start applying. But what I realized, you do a lot of literature search, right? So you will come across certain sort of research groups. So research groups, you can identify those premier research groups at a very early stage, right? And I feel you start reading. When you read their papers, try to map everything, at least what they have done. So what will happen is when you are going to explore that postdoctoral labs, you are aligned, you are at par with what they need. So that is something what I believe that, see, I was at a early stage when IIT Hyderabad was evolving. So those particular in vivo experiments I couldn't do, but now everything is there in place. So that early identification of the research lab, that, see, as a PhD, I feel by the end of 3 years or even in 2 years, you can identify those research groups and you can see that, okay, these are the groups that I want to target after my PhD. So what I need to do to be there. So try following that and try to do each and everything what they are doing, so that in terms of technique or in terms of skills, you are not behind. You are able to map their skills completely, and then basically it becomes the path becomes a little easier. So every time, so what I did was I always took 6 months in advance, even for when I was going to make my career switch from PhD to postdoc. I came in touch with Professor Vemula at least 3 to 4 months back, and we started to frame that proposal together. So that is my advice, that don't wait for the last or don't wait for that time where you want to make it. Instead, start mapping your skills where you want to go. Especially, and even for the bachelors also, BTech, because I did not get that much exposure in VIT in terms of research and all, but in IIT, BTech, here also getting a lot of exposure. If you want to go to AI/ML, or if you want to go into petroleum or in pharma, there is you have all the expertise here. All the professors are working in each and every field. So try to actually link yourself with those particular students, PhD students, and that link should be very serious, I would say. It should not be just for the sake of showing that okay, I have done a project, but that should be actually for your learning. You have to learn so that you can justify yourself, and it has to come in the form of a publication or something. So that is something that if you start planning your career in advance, you get a lot of time, And in between, if you realize, and that gives you a time of a realization also that okay, no, this is something that I'm not finding interesting, so that you can change. Because 4 years in BTech is a good amount of time, and after first year, I think from second year onwards, you can start exploring things. And similarly for the PhD guys also, and even in masters also. So now, see, you are doing chemical engineering, it's okay. The companies are hiring masters. Even in Dr. Reddy's, I see a lot of masters and PhD students are going into process, going into manufacturing. So there are a plethora of opportunities, and you as a chemical engineer, AIML. So as I introduced that AIML is a very booming field. It's not only that you can go into only pharma. So it's only a planning in advance, I would say, and having a clear vision that okay, these are my 2-3 options I am going to try, and start early. That's what, start early, and then fail fast. That is what the basic mantra is.
Okay, thank you once again, Dr. Iith-Chemical. So, undoubtedly it was an enlightening session with you. So, I don't think there are any more questions left. So, I think we can relieve Dr. Iith-Chemical out of it. Now, I would like to call upon the stage Dr. Balaji to present a small token of gratitude and felicitate Dr. Iith-Chemical for his valuable time. Please come upon the stage.
After this, we have an exciting panel discussion featuring 6 distinguished experts who will share their thoughts on various aspects of chemical engineering and its future prospects, moderated to ensure an insightful dialogue. panel discussion. Now I'd like to invite Professor Balaji sir, Kishle Mitra sir, Vamshi Vikram sir, Utkarsh sir, and also Nasimha sir and Saptar sir onto the dais for the panel.
This is third day. So I'm coming back. I came to know about some fish messages told me so much. So I talked to so much. I will settle. But now this is a dinner. So much. Dr. Naresh has no idea.
Excuse me, sir. Saptarshi sir, please.
He doesn't have any idea that what he was doing. So then let us.
Hello, sir. We would like to invite Professor Natsima and Professor Kishan to onto the dais. Please be on the. I would like to welcome Mr. Jashwant as a moderator for this panel discussion, please.
Let's start the panel discussion with the questions being floated on the slide. So it was the first question.
Read it out.
So, sir, what role do you envision for chemical engineers in bridging the gaps between computational advancement, like deep learning and CFD simulation, and real-world applications such as vaccine production optimization or climate change monitoring? Any one of you can start.
No. The wrong part that you wanted to listen from us again, so you have to listen to the same thing, which we have been telling over time. Okay, so my opinion is chemical engineering is a perfect khichdi. Okay, so take it as a blessing. Hardly any other discipline allows us to do so many things in one platform. Okay, so means I told whatever I told in all positive connotation. So that's a great luck that we do so many things together. So and then these problems you are talking about, most of them needs that khichdi kind of arrangement, because the problem definition itself is very difficult to handle. Not like any single discipline will be able to solve that. So that's what I think we have a tremendous role. Starting from the very basic training we do so many things, starting from experiments as well as much as possible to use the advanced computational techniques. So that is what I think we are very aptly placed to take care of both the problems. So probably I'll just give one example. Through that we'll start. Okay, so suppose so climate change, if I just start with, so lot of this greenhouse gas emission, they are coming from combustion processes. Okay, so combustion is a very complicated process. How to understand that? Through experiments, it's very difficult to understand, but so one of the route is to understand that through advanced high fidelity simulation based techniques. Okay, you already have written those CFDs. Now CFD needs a lot of computation, in which means again we are equipped. Okay, and then the kind of CFD which needs chemical reaction is typically done by chemical engineers. So that problem is very aptly suited for us. But then all these simulations are extremely computationally expensive. Okay, so some of the ideas which we are also trying, and then many people, advanced labs, they are also means in the world they are trying that how to make use of probably limited number of simulations, limited number of experiments. Okay, so first of all you are going to do a modeling which you are going to get validated through your experiments, and then since your experiments as well as computations are expensive, how to conduct probably means conduct them limited in number and then make use of them and build means ML kind of models. And then ML models are computationally cheaper, so in that way you can then use those ML models for all your advanced studies. Okay, and then come up with an optimal solution, okay, which is probably best suited from various point of view. Want to suppose minimize your means this greenhouse gas emission. So there would be a lot of constraints which you have to maintain, and there would be objectives like this. Okay, so you can do the optimization study and then finally come up with a solution which you can validate with experiments as well as maybe little bit more simulation. So in that way probably you can see that we can bridge both the things, and any specific question you can ask, but then that is what probably you are trying to look for. Okay, so then I leave it for others, let the discussion continue, and then we'll add more points.
Yeah, so I will give a slightly different viewpoint from Kishila. So it definitely helps to reduce the computational load on the machine. But sometimes what happens is there is also this issue that data collected at one point doesn't always work at some other point. So there is a diversity of data as you move across, especially for climate change and problems like that. So one of the things that is also important here is you have to combine deep learning with physics-based models sometimes, and then you'll have to improve the fidelity of your simulations using physics-based models and optimization and deep learning and machine learning kind of problems. So the thing is that chemical engineers, like what Kishila has already pointed out, are a perfect khichdi for doing this, because they do both physics-based models and optimization, and that's where we come in as in some sense more well-rounded to handle these problems. Because if you go to some other departments, they might be purely reliant on physics-based models, or some other departments will just do optimization. You give them any data, they will do optimization, but we can do both, and that's where we fit in a slightly different way, in a more comprehensive way to handle problems like this. And probably vaccine-based things, Utkarsh will be able to tell a little bit more about this.
Not exactly vaccine, but I see a lot of, the thing is when you talk about deep learning, what I understand is a lot of molecular simulations going into it. So see, every drug or every molecule that we want to suppose to differentiate, or we want to make it something new, we want to screen a lot of excipients, we need to screen a lot of solvents, we need to predict a lot of interactions with
oral to injectable route. We have a software called GastroPlus and other molecular simulation team that actually evaluates that molecule and give a PK prediction to us. Okay, if we are going to change this molecule from an oral to an injectable or an injectable to an oral, what kind of profile you can actually expect. We do a simulation in 1.2, 7.4 or different sort of simulating conditions that will replicate our body. So that's what it gives you a lot of optimization and lot of understanding that okay, what all techniques or what all particular formulation or compositions are not going to work. So then you actually are left with a very few which can actually be taken into the lab and it can be actually be experimented to see whether this is going to work or not. Like there are a lot of what I would say, there are certain sort of, we want to make certain sort of injections less painful, or we want to make this glycosylide is there, or there are some sort of other molecules that we want to actually make it as an injection but less painful. So we screen a lot of solvents, aqueous based, organic based, and see if your drug is actually stable in that, and then we move forward to the next step, and then we say to our actually lab scientists to actually, now these are the set of solvents, evaluate this. So definitely this speeds your process. From a vaccine point of view, I think it must be the same thing, but from a drug point of view, what my understanding is that molecular simulations and deep learning, as I also mentioned about data, that we extract a lot of data and we already, if we can use this computational power to the full potential, it will definitely speed in the process of actually making a drug, bringing the drug much faster from lab to market. So that is my understanding of deep learning.
I'll quickly add before means transferring it to others. Adding specifically the point which Professor Balaji was mentioning. Okay, so see, we have to start from somewhere. So that's what the means CIML started, and then got a lot of criticism, which is very means having quite a lot of rationale that it doesn't care of physics at all. Okay, but then that's a very means. I would say, means at least in our domain, if we try to think about it, that is what it should address as much as possible. So, what another recent approach came into existence recently, that is known as physics-informed neural network. Okay, so this helps you to solve the same set of equation you are solving using CFD in much faster manner. So I'll give you an example also. Again, going back to the climate change problem, the numerical weather models, their capability is at least 2-3 years before, the capability was to predict you things in say 25 kilometers grid size. Okay, so numerical weather model CFD simulations are being done and done in a very, very high performance machine, and the grid size was to the order of 25 kilometers. So what means, thanks to one of the conferences, NVIDIA AI Summit, which I was attending this year. So what people have done, they took the same set of equation, solved it under the platform of physics-informed neural network or physics-informed neural operator, PIN and PINO. So they use the same set of equations but in much faster manner, okay, and using all NVIDIA GPUs. And then now the current prediction is to the order of 40 times 40 times final resolution to the tune of 1.25 kilometer and all. So these kind of things are very much possible, where we are not going to lose the physics. We are going to solve the same equation, satisfying everything, everybody, and then satisfying the quality of the solution you are predicting also, and then solving the problem. Okay.
Thank you, Krishlai and Balaji. So I do agree totally what our colleagues are emphasizing, that computational tools definitely are much needed, especially when you want to deal the real world problems. But I would take the computational tools that we use, when you go crazy about using them left and right, I would actually restrain to do that, because unless you prove the validity of those models, I think there is no value for it. Otherwise, if I recall our experiences on a CFD, we have been associated with the computational fluid dynamics research for the last 30 years. And the perception in industry earlier used to be colorful drawings. It is primarily because those models are not seriously validated. And I'm not talking about theoretical models. I'm referring to the real problems that you are talking about to solve. So the scale up especially is only being acceptable in the industry unless you actually prove your model at a lab scale validating, followed by even upscale, at least a few case studies you have to demonstrate. So what happens in the academics, most of the students, if you are working with a computational research projects, you only touch upon those things. But then the way the Utkarsh shown his experience, the leapfrog, that is only possible unless you take and validate your industrial scale problems. I think that is where I vote for, to actually keep your energy ready and look for the data if it is possible to generate in-housely, and if not, access the best literature-based data to validate and then showcase. I said once you prove that, then your physics-based models plus the operational optimization routines that we toast upon would actually fetch you the much credibility for your output. I think that's what I recommend to go for. Definitely validating those models at every step, and then come prepared and demonstrate your skills. I think this is what I want to come out of it. Thank you.
So basically, I'll try to give in terms of student perspective, because recently I had a transition from student to faculty life. So typically, I'm a completely experimentalist and I do very less computation. But what insights I can give you is like one work that I have been extensively doing when I was in USA was on CO2 capture. So CO2 capture is one of the difficult thing because the concentration of CO2 is very less, it's around 420 ppm. Now, when we develop a process, the right thing is like we have to choose what is the right location to place a DAC unit, direct air capture unit, to capture CO2. For this, these computational studies are very important to see at what location on the earth we have to place this DAC unit so that it can efficiently work. So for that we have to definitely do, being a chemical engineer, what we do is like, ideally we take a block and we try to do mass balance, like what is the input and what is the output. Similarly, we have to do this computational studies and do the mass balance and install this DAC unit at specific locations so that it can work efficiently.
So that's a fantastic insight, because earlier one of the reasons why CFD was all developed was the internal experiments. You cannot place sensors everywhere, and you wanted to know exactly what's happening across the structure, not at a specific location. Now what chemical engineers are doing is you have to identify where to place the sensors, and that placing itself has to come from some chemical engineering study in some way. So that's important in some sense.
Sir, I would like to stop the discussion for this question. Answers were interesting and informative, but we are short of time, so we'll be moving on to the next question.
I have one point.
So I will not take much time, and I would just like to take. I respect this call, because as a moderator here, I have the right to stop. But I am exercising my right to speak. So the thing is that it cut short. One thing is that you always think about, as a chemical engineer, what is your USP? If you talk about data modeling, you are nowhere compared to a computer scientist. So don't even boast that you are doing AI/ML or computation. Don't even boast. You are not close. What you can boast, that I am a process engineer, I know the physics, and I have a language called AI/ML which helps me, or optimization which helps me, the computation which helps me. Then you are important. Because a computer scientist does not know what is the drag of a flight. Computer scientists cannot say that how a particle can move in a fluid with a terminal velocity, but forces are balanced, and how can I use the equation there to understand the catalyst activity. So as long as you are talking in this language and use the tools, the great tools, the complementary tools like AI/ML, optimizations, CFD, DEM, molecular modeling, you are great. You need it. You are needed. You are very much in need in the market. So never lose your ground You are a data, not a data scientist. You are a chemical engineer who can use the data for the right purpose to express the whatever you know from your own subject. So look at the big picture and place the modeling, place the computation in place without losing the big picture. The big picture is chemical engineering, a vast multi-scale science no other engineering can ever think of. A chemical engineer can talk about a molecule just now, and later on is the world's largest equipment FCC cracker, which is bigger than any other equipment on the earth. Both can be done by the same chemical engineer. No engineering can have such multi-scale process. Only competitor to us is astrophysicist. That's the only scale can beat us. So enjoy your chemical engineering, get the physics, identify the bigger pictures, identify the need for the computations, learn it, and then boast that I also know this. Like Tata Steel always says, we also make steels.
Thank you for insightful and interesting answers. So I would like to move on to the next question. So how can chemical engineers contribute to addressing the global challenges such as energy, self-reliance and climate change through innovations in areas like hydrogen energy production, bioenergy and advanced material design?
It's a very interesting question. In fact, it's a point that we ever lost debate about it and work on continuously. So, if I comment from the advanced materials point of view, particularly now, if I focus on India, we are very much now in the need of criticality to talk about some of these critical metals and minerals that are needed to bring about these advanced materials. And these are particularly aimed for energy storage devices and also even energy harvesting materials, and to the extent even economic growth of the country. So I think that's where we are, at least the government of India has placed for about a 7 years plan to spend about 34,000 crores, including the foreign acquisition, R&D and skill development, which is actually major issue in India. So now if you look at I'm slightly digressing, but still I will stick on to the requirement of the advanced material research. If you look at most of you looking for job or placement, you are actually more comfortable to go with the IT or general or managerial jobs. But how many of you are really going forward to take up these core jobs? I think the fraction I can tell you is less than 2% or 3%. Okay, and not in IIT Hyderabad, I'm saying around across the country. So then, when such low fraction of the motivation is there for the students going into core industry, obviously there is a serious demand across the globe about on this skill development. So I think that is where, if we put join hands together to look at and get motivated to do, but otherwise as a chemical engineer, as the prospect point of view, if we work on a core aspects of these chemical engineering related to energy and environment and also the materials point of view, definitely there is a glory that we can see, if not today, but at least in the decade time or few decades time. So that's one lacuna we see, but otherwise that's area seriously needs the focus for the next 10 years. Yeah.
So this field is very fastly moving. One example I'm giving that Government of India is that day when Honorable Minister's statement was there, the ethanol production people should not be caring about ethanol is competing with ethanol or not, because there is enough room for everything you produce. The reason is that our generation, sorry to say, is a very selfish one, and previous one is even more selfish, and we have left a world where there is no fuel for it. Okay, so we have consumed it in so greedy way that we left the next generation in a very bad shape. We have done in our BTech programs in feasibility analysis
But we have left you with another term, feasibility and sustainability, because that term we only gave to you. So because whatever you have done is not sustainable, so now your generation has to do that additional thing on what we have done. So it's our responsibility. So now you please think about that you have to do it such a way that the sustainability works out. Climate is very important. Everything should be sustainable in terms of climate things. It should be a net zero. It should be circular economy. All these new terms are coming in place. Any innovation has to happen, and this area is booming just like anything. Please take it that if you need to really give, see, people talk about e-vehicles. Think about if every vehicle is a battery operated vehicle, what I will do with the waste of the battery? No answer to the society. And where from the electricity comes? You are putting carbon dioxide somewhere else. You are not solving the problem. These are all works, simply works. It is a market strategy until otherwise we are really cleaning the things overall. In the city, I can say that by putting the biofuels, by putting the EV, I'm not polluting, but it is polluting somewhere else. So the overall picture is much more broader, and as a chemical engineer, you have a very big role to play, because starting from catalysis to the fluid mechanics, everything is related. You have to generate the fuels like ethanol productions, your methanol productions. You are utilizing coal. India has a great reserve of coal. Can I use the coal directly to the liquid? And that's a big research. You know, we were visiting, Kishla sir, we are visiting to a place called Sinfar, Dhanbad. They already have a technology demonstrated that they can directly have a direct coal to liquid. They produce diesel grade oil, and they are saying that this diesel grade oil India should have this, because if tomorrow Russia is stopping the oil because of some reason, Middle East is not giving the oil, should our car stop? But think about, we have a 200 years reserve of coal, and that coal is good enough to give us fuel for sustainability. So now we need all these routes. Now in future, energy problem cannot be solved like today. Right now, today, what is the situation? 1/3 is coming of hydrothermal, 1/3 is coming of the petroleum, 1/3 is coming of coal. And not 1/3, 30, rest 10 is everything else. So this will not be there, because your future will be coming with everything 10-15%. So many possibilities will exist. Okay, so basically chemical engineers has a bigger role to play for developing the bioenergy, in starting from methanol productions, utilization of coal, lignocellulosic material, converting to ethanol. So there are so many possibilities exist for you, and believe me that all of us are same boat. I'm sure that in future, going to be next 20 years, you see lot many chemical plants are coming. Like Government of India has a plan of 100 ethanol, bioethanol plants, 100 across the country. Why 100? Why not 3 big things? Because these are having a strong supply chain issues. These are all you need to get the crops, forest waste, crop waste, all these things. So you cannot have big plants. You have a distributed system. So the supply chain can be managed well. So starting from the operational research, means optimization, AI, ML, to the catalysis. Everywhere there's a big picture. Chemical engineers has to evolve. No other engineering can evolve this, because we only know what is the reaction, we only know what is the reactor, we only know how to make the product, and we only can fuel the car for the future. So I feel chemical engineers have a lot of things to do. Only thing, we have to make the design, unlike earlier, we have to make the design much more sustainable, much more perfect, which can be sustainable after 50 years also. So that circular economy we have to invent. That's the only thing we have to put inside the design. That concept of circular economy now should be part of design of the process you do.
The question was, how can chemical engineers contribute? So basically, in this kind of problem, basically we have two things known. One is experimentation, through which we can come up with new process development. Okay, and the second one is, of course, simulation-based studies. Okay, so these two are pretty common, where we contribute quite heavily. The third one, which Sir hinted, is, or probably Utkarsh was also mentioning, in industry it is important, means the calculations for kitna business banega. Okay, so that is what I was mentioning, that it is all like supply chain management, supply chain optimization. So in that way, probably again, all thanks to our history nature, we can contribute in all three of them. Okay, not only simulation, and then do all kind of what if scenario studies, that probably if a new technology is adopted, what is going to happen? Because most of the cases will not be able to conduct experiments for each of the scenarios, right? And then some of the scenarios you are going to conduct experiments to get your model validated to some extent, to check how good or bad your model is. And when all these things are done, if all of these things are implemented in a country-wide scenario or a city-wide scenario, how much money you are going to make? Or probably whatever way you are going to propose that as a process, is that a business case, true business case, or probably what are the other factors? If you manipulate little bit, your proposal will be making more business sense. So in a way, three avenues which I think where chemical engineers can contribute, and I strongly believe probably no other stream probably can contribute in all three streams together, is experimentation for process development, and then computational studies, and as well as supply chain and all life cycle analysis based calculation, including everything, means calculations of carbon credits, okay, and then calculations of greenhouse gas emissions, and probably the third important thing is how much profit you are making. Because the way the question is posed, or the way today's world is going, other two questions are much more important than probably how much profit is making. And it's a mindset also. Unless you are ready to sacrifice your profit, the other two things are not going to happen. Because there is a strong trade-off between them, which we have analyzed very closely in some of our bio-energy supply chain studies. That means you a lot. Because unless you sacrifice some of the profit, you cannot do little bit justice to the sustainability as well as carbon credits and all. So little bit of mental mindset change is also needed, and then it is like means many objective optimization to be done simultaneously so that all the goals are achieved. But I think we are again extremely well positioned, being quote unquote chemical engineer, to tackle each of one of these aspects and being an unique in that sense.
So I think most of the points are covered. So I'll just say, as Dr. Kishle also covered, the thing is, unless you are ready to sacrifice the profits, you cannot meet the ultimate goal. And when it comes to advanced material design, see, ultimately what we do is in pharma, when we are calculating the entire cost of the goods for a particular material, we have a raw material cost and we have a packaging material cost as well. So all of the medicines, if you see, we have to come up with designs, or we have a standard set of packaging material like aluminum blister packing, and there are certain sort of packings that are not very environmental friendly, but again the cost. So there are available materials in the market that are biodegradable and that can be used for packaging, but then again it comes with a cost. So that's what that mindset has to change, because there are certain companies that have started implementing those sort of advanced materials in their packaging, but again their profits are taking a toll. So that's what, and there has to be an optimum somewhere where we are ready to, and there has to be some stringent guidelines also, I feel, where that has to be put in place, that okay, no, this is something that we need to restrict in terms of materials that have to be used in packaging, and plastic have to be, they have to drastically come down when it comes to usage.
So I listened to the passionate appeal of Saptarishi and two colleagues. I have a slightly different opinion here. So the market drives everything, okay? And this modern world is the outcome of chemical engineering. The modern world will not happen unless and otherwise you have fertilizer, Ziegler-Natta catalyst, and specialty chemicals. As simple as that. So the modern world is a product of chemical engineering. So, and the future world will also be a product of chemical engineering. So there is no doubt about it for me. So now in this sense, what typically happens is when you have challenges like this, you have reports that typically comes out from National Academy of Sciences. That is typically in the US, but research is across the world. And you have a 1988 as a report, it's called as an Amundsen report. You should
take a look at those reports. And then recently in 2022, there's again a report in National Academy of Sciences for new trends in chemical engineering. Whenever a challenge like this comes, they identify certain core areas where one needs to focus and see what needs to be done. For example, circular economy is one focus there. Okay, and then decarbonization is another focus. Okay, and then sustainable agriculture is another focus there. Or you want to save water. Water is going to be a critical commodity. So now there are certain focuses that they give you, and then these focuses not only drive industries, it also drives government policies. Okay, and when both of these have to be simultaneously done for you to make an impact. You cannot just drive through industry, but you also have to drive through government policy. So both these things the chemical engineers have to engage, and then they should give some solutions so that we can move forward. We cannot suddenly go back to stop using everything. That's not going to happen. Your laptops, the chips inside comes from Intel. Intel 50% are chemical engineers because the processing that happens, the underlying processing that happens is all chemical engineering based. Okay, so you need to understand this and adapt and see. Anything you do, there is going to be a side effect for it. We'll have to kind of understand what are the side effects and see whether we can make it better and better. So it's like you fail and then you grow. That's the idea.
Yeah, so I would like to continue with what Professor Balaji has said. So here, like when he gave an example of Intel, here we can see that every microchip, every year the number of transistors in this microchip is getting doubled. So that means that we are shrinking the size. That is called process intensification. And chemical engineers have been doing this process intensification in electronic industry. So in same way, we can also do these advancements in chemical industry so that we can grow further faster and efficient. That's one thing. And another example is like I can give for electronic vehicles. So whenever you go to a market and if you see an electronic vehicle, the first question what you ask is like how quickly you can charge your batteries of your vehicle and how long it can go with the charged battery. So these two things depend on the chemistry of the battery. So there was an evolution of these lithium-ion batteries. Initially it started with lithium cobalt, then they started adding more and more critical metals in that, like lithium, nickel, manganese, cobalt. These are the chemistries that they have been changing. So here, the chemistry is not only the important part, but the design and engineering of the battery is also important. So this only chemical engineering can do, where they can combine the chemistry and engineering and efficiently develop the battery. So we have a potential scope to do lots of amazing research in future. Yeah.
Okay, so I would like to stop the discussion from this question.
Last comment.
We are short of time.
Yeah. No, connecting all these opinions, there is one thing as a chemical engineer we forgot to do is whatever the process that we talk about it, at the end it's a zero waste. The moment you come and connect to zero waste, be it a solid, liquid or gas of your product line, then actually the role is mainly meant for chemical engineers. I think that is a role we have it. Heat any product. I think that's the role we can able to play major compared to any other. Thank you.
Thank you for the interesting answers. So I would like to move on to the next question. So based on the current declining placement trends in IITs, premier institutes in India, where do you think our core chemical engineers lagging behind us compared to contemporary branches like AI, ML, and to stand toe to toe with others? What are the possible improvement areas that can be adopted and worked upon in terms of skills, keeping in mind the core packages?
Yes, first of all, this lagging word, I don't agree with this. My humble disagreement. This is nothing called lagging. Give an example. Just see, there is a short term and long term. Give an example in 2000 time when 2000, 2001, when Y2K problems and all these things are there, many of the engineering colleges started this new branch called IT, information technology. And it was very booming in those years. Where are they now? Anything you heard about them? Most of them are closed probably. So basically, that it's like that, you eat too much, you eat less. Finally, your duration of eating will be less.
it will be a longer time you can eat. See, this depending on is nothing called lagging. What is happening, you know, there are certain jobs available which can pay you much more in which is somehow connected with the AI/ML, because couple of the world giants like Google and Microsoft, they are all basically working on that area. There's a little highly paid job, okay. But also think about two things. One is that there are sustainability part. A core engineering person, like for example in Reddy's laboratory and all other things, you know, where a person grows, that growth will be not as fast as that, but they have a long-term vision. Give an example, when you 2010, the 2005 C++ was very important. 2010 Java was very important. What are those? So basically, you know, this when you are depending on tool-based things, you may get a quick job, but that may not be sustainable. Today, when I learned AI/ML, that time it was ANN. Now nobody talks about ANN. People are talking about RNN, CNN, and all sorts of or every other alphabet other than A. So basically, so the thing is that this tool has a problem. The tool is that you have to continuously evolve. Whereas the other part of chemical engineers, what you know, is as a sustainable thing. But at the same time, when the world is like this, you have to respond to it. Now, how will you respond? Give an example, if you are a MTech student or if you are a PhD student. I think most of the people are here MTech and PhD. I think a couple of BTechs are also there. But my suggestion is to you will be that, see, you define a problem first in chemical engineering. See, your professor is defining a problem mostly in the chemical engineering, isn't it? So you define a problem in the chemical engineering, learn it, and then do certain things. See, you are doing experimentals. See, who is doing computation, who is doing AI/ML. I am not talking their example. They are anyhow doing it, so they can get a job very easily. So there are people who are not doing it. See, give an example, somebody is experimentalist. Who says you cannot do? You do design of experiment. I think design of experiment lab courses what Lopa ma'am and Satya sir has taken. Most of the courses are lot of equation, programmings and everything. But they are experimentalists, isn't it? So basically, if you are doing even experiment, you are doing lot of design of experiment, doing certain kind of response surface analysis, doing all sorts of things. You implement the AI/ML things on that, doing optimization with this. Who stops you? You are still an experimentalist. So you need not do a separate thing called computation or something like to remain AI/ML to remain sustainable on the market. You are still can do, even if you are not doing this something else, you can always keep on add on. It is better to add on. Then you remain survive as chemical engineer and also in the tune with the market trends. Okay. So I feel that if you want to, as a chemical engineer, you have to sustain, adapt new tools to the already things you are doing. You need not reinvent new things. Whatever you are doing is great. Please have a confidence. Add a new tool as a complementary expertise, like AI/ML, like all other computational tools, and enhance the scope of the study. There are two benefits. One, your biodata is increasing. Second is your problem is also getting solved in a much elegant way. So basically, then there is nothing called survival. You will be surviving because you have a better biodata to go forward.
Thank you, Saptarshi. I do agree what Professor Saptarshi mentioned, that the chemical engineer lagging is not the right way to pronounce it. Rather, I would see placements is actually cyclic process. So I think if you reckon the trend that is happening, I'm talking about the placements of chemical engineers in general. So when we were ready for placements way back 25, 26 years, the trend was completely, IT was at a peak, the software. But then the 2009, 2002, 2001, there is a sudden decline. And it doesn't mean that now it's a consistent job to go on. But of course, highly pays in the beginning. But as Professor Saptarshi mentioned that today, if you look at it, more than 50% of the chips that are being manufactured are chemical engineers at the grassroots. So essentially, when we understand this, the placements as a cyclic process, that doesn't mean that now chemical engineers is not going to survive it. It's going to be survived. In a way, now we are talking about a cleaner energy and the green catalyst and to the extent the hype that is being currently there, let's say for example AI and ML, I think all of my colleagues would agree that AI and ML is not new for chemical engineering. It's actually there as optimization tools with us since 3 or 4 decades, and we refer that as AI ML is nothing but the world wine in a new bottle. I guess everybody agrees on that. So that means we are not talking something which is not existing with the chemical engineering aspects. It is actual part and parcel of it. But then, as previous question we had it, right? Remember that how we can actually show our contribution for part of the environment and cleaner. I think as a chemical engineer you have a better role. So you can actually do it by looking at the right job, but then of course you need to get trained additionally for this coding and application tools. The data is the main identity that we need to connect it. Today you have various data, but I think to utilize meticulously for optimizing your process, of course you have to connect to optimization routines. So don't get scared of ANML, which is not our entity, it is part of our entity. But only thing is, you use them meticulously for required application that you are working in your streamline or product line that you go on. And then the other aspect, if I look at it, for your possible improvement, yes, in terms of our department curriculum point of view, we have actually included some of those changes. For example, today in BTech core courses, process intensification is being integrated as one of the core courses. ANML of a chemical applications are also part of the core learning. So that means you don't have to go to other department to learn those skills. They are there as already there. But bit more is missing, which is basically students nowadays. When you have a ChatGPT and OpenAI, where we technically we can use them, but not to the extent where you actually try and cheat the system to come back. So I can cite small examples. Don't take it in a negative side of this. So I was asking one of known scholar earlier to come back with the abstract. When they came up, it's actually kind of, I can figure out, this is not the routine structure that we can write based on your results and observations that are made, but they are just prepared because based on one of these open way tools are being adopted and so that's actually calling, it's not an appropriate way of utilizing it. But I think what you have to do is, when you have your own information and data, I think utilize those techniques to optimize it, but not all the way to replace. If that is happening, now imagine what happens today. We have ANML and also the robotics that are being placed. Tomorrow, all these industries should have been running with only the machines without any human beings. Is that the world that we are ready to prepare for it? I don't think so. So there will be a point where we reach certain level of automation, but still you need a manual intervention to do that process effectively. So I guess it's not the end of the world if you think about only AML, ANML are going to be tried. They are there with your curriculum, but you need to put a extra to prepare and use it, demonstrate for your placements whenever they will ask those questions. I think that's the readiness you have to prepare with it. Without that, I think we can't help anything as a fact. Thank you.
Okay. So, to me, it's a 0-1 problem. Okay. So, machines use 0 1s, these binary digits, to do all those things. In that way, AIML uses a lot of 0-1 problems. So, means today we are fortunate that basically I can give you a live example since Utkarsh is sitting here. Utkarsh himself told. So, in case of Utkarsh, it took 10 number of years to get him where he is, right? And then, if you see in our model predictive control kind of prediction horizon view, then how much we are investing for AIML? We are probably investing not 1 0, 0 1 predicts, okay? And then we are expecting we are going to get the result of 1 0. Okay, so that's you can realistically understand that's not possible. And then what is mentioned here, it's a AIML problem, like contemporary branches like AIML, so it's their problem. So it's not like a direct problem to chemical engineer. So So it would definitely take us some time to adopt what all they are talking about, because they are probably all 48 credits they are doing on AML, and then in probably 2 years they are going to get whatever result, something like that. And then you just see in whatever way we are doing. Okay, but then I will tell you some positive part of it. Since this is not directly chemical engineering problem, it will take some time. And so I was just discussing, means I came to know around say 6 months back, there are startups which are coming up, which have a tremendous database of say very large number of million billion molecules, and out of which they are trying to find out which molecular combination is going to give you the right catalyst of reaction. So immediately you understood that is the domain of our problem, or our domain problem, right? And then there are a lot of these reinforcement learning kind of control applications which many, not only defense organizations, many of the startups they are also doing. So it is going to take some time, definitely, because we are very much domain based. These are tools. The tools has to come and understand, and probably we need to also time to understand probably how to use these tools for our domains. Those things are going to happen and started happening. And so it will take some time to be there, and then it will happen. And the third thing I am going to tell, that it's not like chemical engineers cannot do what probably AML guys do. So I will just tell you one incident without taking a name. One PhD student worked on AML throughout the thesis, okay? And then probably after the end of the thesis got an opportunity of postdoc. And then at that time, so you have to be the right person, right place, right moment, everything. So some opportunity came, and then probably he asked a curious question to the company. Okay, can you meet my postdoc salary? Okay, so they were AML companies, they were trying to hire him. And then he asked, can you meet my postdoc salary? Paid it. Okay, bargaining started. Okay, and then went up to a great level, and then probably, means I'm just hinting you, the salary finally settled at 50 LPA. Okay, and marriage happened. Okay, so you have to be at the right person, right place, doing the right thing. But then the same person probably tries to do now when AML is already saturated, it might not happen. So probably we should not think about just one. So one positive thing, and that is chemical engineering background, and not surprisingly product of IIT Hyderabad only, okay, and not surprising from the same department only. Okay, so it is all encouraging for you, but then it's only maybe one data point. Okay, but then we should not run after only one data point. In fact, AIML tells us to capture the generality in the data, not getting overfitted with a particular data point or any model. So don't go by those things, and try to see probably how can we best utilize of AIML, and then eventually definitely something will happen. It is taking some time to get AIML specific application to our domain, but it will come soon. That is what we can say.
So, I feel the declining placement trend, I think you have taken a data only of few years. I believe the market is that way, that's being captured. But the thing is, see, I would start like in COVID, there was a buzzword called mass rejection. Everybody was having many offers, and there was a mass rejection, and people got, unbelievable salaries. But now what is happening? That was an overhiring, and now everything is falling apart once again. That's what AIML also, I believe the stock market reaches a high. And right now AIML is a very buzzword, and we are doing, okay, that is there in the market and people are there, that is being valued more. But your basics, if the basics are strong, that can never shake you, what I believe. See, in my career also, see, I am a chemical engineering, but how I have been transitioning throughout the year, and it's not that it's your curiosity basically. You can upskill yourself. See, right now AIML has come into the market, but now educational institutes have also adapted. You are having so many courses now, so many opportunities now. Upskill yourself, and definitely if you are upskilling yourself, if you have an added advantage of a chemical engineering plus an expertise of AIML plus an expertise of optimizing
plus an expertise of molecular modeling. See, all these things add up to your profile, and definitely you are going to get placed. Maybe you are not getting a placement in your core domain right after your BTech or your MTech, but after a couple of years, if you keep working on your skill set, because it's always a game of upskilling. If you are upskilling yourself, you will definitely find the right place and a right organization to work with. So it doesn't feel that we are lagging behind. We are definitely at par. It's just, I think it's more to do with the individual mindset also. If an individual is curious, you will definitely find your way, I believe. And there are ample amount of opportunities that you can fit in, and it's not only AI/ML. AI/ML will definitely give you a certain edge, but only up to a certain time. After AI/ML, we don't know what's next, so you have to upskill your things. That is what my understanding from this question.
So first I will talk about this placement thing. There's a book called Building a Career in Engineering. So it offers an interesting perspective on how these placements and salaries work. Okay, your placement typically depends on the demand and supply that you have in the market. If you have if you have a demand for AI/ML and the supply matches, your pay is just going to be average. Okay, when is your pay going to be really high? When the demand is very high and the supply is very low. Okay, and there are certain niche areas in chemical engineering where the demand is very high and the supply is very low. If you can target those things, you really will find the right place. But what is happening is many people tend to get distracted by the AML kind of thing, and then there is this demand for a short time, and then it will suddenly crash, like what Saptaji already pointed out. The IT suddenly crashed somewhere, so you don't see a growth. Whereas in chemical engineering, these are more or less ground. So like unlike AML, it's a branch. Chemical engineering is a way to change the world, or way to look at the world. So it's not simply a branch. Okay. So on those things actually have a sustainable way in which they look at the world, and when you develop expertise in chemical engineering, the long-term prospects are really good. Okay, because there are so many challenges in the real world that chemical engineers are equipped to solve. So that's one thing we need to keep in mind. And in fact, some of the AML tools that you're seeing were all developed by chemical engineers. For example, linear programming first came in chemical engineering, 1950s. So they were way ahead of time. Only that they do not come and market in a very specific way, because they are looking at the real world and they are solving some problems that are related to the real world. So I think this trend for we are not even competing with AML is what I would say, because we are at a very different level is what I would say. So an impractical way to look at it is this. You can adapt yourself to the world. Okay, that's practical way. Chemical engineers, on the other hand, they make the world adapt to them. I will do this, and you will have to adapt for this. Because if you want this, I will have to do this. Okay, so that's the way we work. So we are very clear about that.
So in many of the MNCs, one thing like chemical engineering is very well respectable position. When you say chemical engineering, they give lots of respect just because it is interdisciplinary. We can correlate with any of the other disciplines. So coming to the placements, it's also a matter of networking, as Dr. Utkarsh said in the morning, that he started his networking 6 months before he wanted to go into any opportunity. Similarly, you all have to explore all the opportunities and advertise yourself, saying that I am expert in this and I can do this, and if you can showcase this to company, they'll be ready to hire you. Yeah.
Thank you for the
Just closing note. Sorry, just more than 10 seconds.
It is my search, I'm just searching that thing only. This I searched many times in my life. We just say the highest paid engineering discipline in USA. Chemical engineers is always coming 1 to 5. Always 1 to 5. Not today. Nowadays computer science last 10 years popping up in the first 3. But chemical engineers were within first 5, even when I was a student. So basically, that's the thing that market, even you see that surprisingly I saw right now something, a data scientist has a lower salary than chemical engineer. That's the kind of US market is. which is much more matured because they have a couple of very well and stable market they have compared to us. So basically, this lagging is not right thing. There are plenty of opportunity. One needs to really upskill, as Utkarsh rightly pointed out, and that upskilling is continuously needed. What you are doing is great. Adapt certain modern tools to make you relevant, stay relevant, and so that you can do both whenever it comes. So you are still doing very good. Please be confident of that.
I thank all the panel members for informative and valuable answers that they have given to our questions. So now I would like to request Pravalika for the further proceedings.
Yeah, due to the shortage of time, we'll end here this panel discussion. Now I would like to invite Mr. Vanindra Jampana sir to give a token of appreciation for the panelists present. So please come on to that.
What basically she said, enough is enough.
Now the memento will be given to Mr. Vikram. Next to the Professor Balaji sir. Now to the guest Utkar Barani sir. Now Kishlai Mitra sir. Next Mr. Narsimha sir. Next Saptarshi.